Be ready for BYU Game Day. Download the KSL News Radio app to stream BYU games, plus breaking news during the week. That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Welcome back into the season finale of Cougar Nation. This is your last chance to sound off on a Sweet 16 basketball team, 801-575-8255. What was your biggest takeaway from Kevin Young's first season? You can also chime in on football, really anything in the world of BYU. We discuss a lot of random things during the breaks. We've been doing Cougar Sports Saturday together now for 6 years? Coming up on 6 years?
6 athletic years, yeah.
Wow. And if you have enjoyed Cougar Nation and you don't listen to Cougar Sports Saturday, highly recommend this offseason jumping over to Cougar Sports Saturday, noon to 3 every Saturday. And if you're out doing chores or mowing the lawn or whatever, it's on the podcast feed. We put everything up on the podcast feed, Cougar Sports Saturday. It's a must-listen, must-subscribe if you like what we do here in Cougar Nation Monday nights. But we're talking about just how amazing this athletic year was, and is this the greatest athletic year in the history of BYU sports?
It's got to be in the conversation, Matt. I think that, what was accomplished here in 2024, 2025 with football going 11-2, winning the Alamo Bowl, BYU basketball reaching a Sweet 16, that's some impressive stuff. And then you add the piece that you're in a power conference. The schedules are tougher than probably anything else that you compare it to. I still would probably lean to the 1980-1981 year as probably the number one year still, because you got to the Elite Eight from basketball. 1980, you win the WAC. You also win the Holiday Bowl, your first bowl win. It really was the breakthrough athletic year that put BYU on the national map. And it got you to think that BYU could be something big time. Maybe it's a little bit of that this year, too, where it's a new era. Setting the stage for BYU has you believing that they can do something big in this new climate of college athletics, but I still would put 81 probably a little bit higher.
I think 84 belongs there, even though it's mostly football-driven.
I was going to say basketball in 84, 85, they were 500. They were 15-14, didn't reach the postseason, but
football
national
championship. I mean, not every university at the Division I level has won a national championship in anything. So to win a national championship in what is now the nation's most beloved sport, football, that I think holds some weight for sure. But really, when you're looking at the full picture, Mitch, I don't think there's a fair contender to this year because women's soccer, dang good, right? It's not just football and basketball. Track and field is elite right now. They have a great program under Diljeet Taylor. Volleyball has been so good, men's and women's, for so long. This is one of the most complete athletic programs in all of sport, and they have been for a while. It's just that football and basketball were not where you wanted them to be, and now they are leveling up. And so I think this was an outstanding year, and then you couple that with the promise of what can be achieved in the future, because we're truly at a point in time. I think it's worth mentioning this, Mitch. When I was just a meager fan, I remember one of the hardest weekends of my life, and this is trivial. People actually have to deal with hard things. When I'm a single man, all I care about is sports, and in like a 7-day period of time, the Lakers lose to the Jazz in heartbreak, back when Kobe was on the team. Utah beats BYU in dramatic fashion. This is 2012. This is the doink, the opportunity to stick it to the muss, and they can't do it. And then shortly after that, they rip it up to Boise, Idaho, and they fail the two-point conversion, all within a week's time. And I remember traveling back from Boise, talking with friends, saying, are we ever going to pay our coach top dollar? Are we ever going to put all of our chips in? Because it always felt like, and it was true for such a long time, that you were sort of exercising the benefits of BYU to get people here at a discount. And you just wondered what could happen if you went all in. if you said, this is what the elites in the sports are doing, we're going to match it. You don't need to be crazy. You don't need to pay a coach $30 million a year. But will you just be competitive with the going rates? That was a conversation you probably had with your dad many times. I had with my friends many times. We no longer had that conversation. And this is the first year where we're seeing the fruits of that investment. I don't know how you can't pick this year.
That's a great point. And you look at what's happening, too, on the recruiting trail for basketball especially. Football, though, is on the climb. You see Nasi Taumoi-Peu officially signed a 4-star edge rusher.
Ryder Lyons visiting practice.
He gets added this year. Ryder Lyons is in the mix with BYU. BYU's leveling up, and I think there was always this feeling that if they got that Power Conference invite, they will be able to unlock something. And I think NIL, too, was so big. And I know it's trying on Cougar fans. I think it's trying on every fan base because, to your point earlier about, I think wanting to go back a little bit in time with what it once was. I romanticize that a little bit, too, some nostalgia of just knowing.
The regionalness, the rivalries.
But, man, I'll tell you, NIL and having passionate fans like BYU does, like Cougar Nation is, it creates this opportunity where BYU can be a big-time player. And you know what? You might not have the basketball tradition like Duke, but guess what? You can go take down Duke to get recruits now if you want to, get your foot in the door. And the thing is that the difference between getting these players, you got to have the staff and the culture and the environment. And it feels like both football and men's basketball have that right now. And it's good times for BYU sports. And now the next challenge, though, Matt, is that
they got to break through.
They got to win titles. And that's the one thing about this year is that none of them won a title. Football and men's basketball. No one won a title.
You're meaning specific conference titles.
Conference titles, conference tournament titles. Yes, football won a bowl championship, Alamo Bowl. Sweet 16 feels like kind of like a championship. But
even then, we were down at the student-athlete building today having just an end-of-spring ball kind of roundtable interview session with a lot of players. And I remember this is a conversation we'll play in Cougar Sports Saturday. So, again, get out your phone, ask Alexa or Siri or whoever you have to get you to the Cougar Sports Saturday podcast feed because we got interviews with Jake Retzloff, Bruce Mitchell, Keanu Tanavasa, big-time starting caliber players. We'll be rolling those out in the coming weeks. Bruce told me, because I asked him, and I think it's a fair question, you probably asked this too, but how do you have the chip on your shoulder after going 11-2? And he said, dude, we didn't accomplish any of our goals last year. We did not play in a championship game. We did not go to the playoff. So 11-2 is great, but we fell short. So there still is a lot of meat on the bone for both of these teams, but you do have to love the direction they're going in.
Absolutely, and I think that's what's exciting, and it does feel like the beginning of a new era. You don't have to roll out the 1980s highlights to romanticize what BYU once was. You can now show young fans the great times are right now. And for a long period of time, maybe in 2012 when you were having that tough moment as a fan.
It was tough,
you're
man.
Probably like, I want to go back. I want to watch the 1980s footage. You're like, man, that's real grainy. It's been a minute. It's not HD.
Right.
But you don't have to now because, and look, you still got to respect the tradition. This is what got you here. Guys like Lavelle Edwards, guys like, Stan Watts back in the day in basketball. Like it all has a part in creating the successes today.
Yep.
But this new era has a chance to take off to heights that these programs have never before experienced. And that's what's exciting, and there's so much potential and growth opportunities for BYU sports.
It's well said, and it's just a great time to be a BYU fan. We're lucky to be here.
Cougar Nation sponsored by Central Bank, serving Utah County for over 133 years with trusted service, modern technology, and personalized care. We're taking our final break of the season. Mitch Harper, Matt Baiamonte with you. We're going to talk more BYU basketball and football here on Cougar Nation on KSL News Radio.